You've seen the TikToks, the Instagram reels, those viral no spend challenges that promise financial freedom and a savings account fat enough to make your parents proud. It's sold as the peak of self discipline, a way to reclaim control in a world of mindless consumerism. But what if I told you this trend has a dark side? That for many, it's a direct pipeline to a new unregulated casino where your life savings can vanish in an instant. This is the story of how extreme frugality is turning a generation of savers into high stakes gamblers. On the surface, it looks like the most responsible trend in decades. A generation known for being digitally native and financially anxious is suddenly all about austerity. Trends like loud budgeting and no spend challenges are celebrated as signs of maturity. You track your progress, post your wins, and cut every non essential purchase, from the daily latte to a new pair of shoes, all in the name of a better future. The narrative is powerful. It's about sacrifice, discipline, and delayed gratification. But where is all this meticulously saved money actually going? For a shocking number of people, it's not going into a 401k. It's not being invested in a diversified, low cost index fund. It's not even chilling in a high yield savings account. It's getting wired straight into a crypto exchange, becoming ammunition for high risk, high reward bets on assets with, frankly, no underlying value. This video isn't here to bash the desire to save or the ambition to build wealth. It's about exposing a dangerous pipeline that is quietly formed in the shadows of social media. A pipeline that starts with the virtuous act of saving and ends in the soul crushing reality of a gambling addiction disguised as an investment strategy. We're going to pull back the curtain on how economic anxiety, social media pressure, and the psychology of deprivation are creating a perfect storm, and what you need to know before you or someone you care about gets swept away. So, how did we get here? How did a generation get so obsessed with a path that connects extreme saving with extreme risk? It's not one simple thing. It's a mix of deep seated economic anxiety, the undeniable influence of the social media ecosystem, and a psychological cocktail that makes this pipeline almost irresistible. First, let's talk about the economic landscape Gen Z inherited. It's a world defined by a feeling some call financial nihilism. This is a profound disillusionment with the traditional financial system. For a lot of young people, the classic American dream feels like a total scam. They've watched wages stagnate while the cost of living, housing, and education has soared to insane heights. The old advice, go to college, get a good job, save diligently, buy a house, retire in 40 years, sounds less like a roadmap and more like a fairy tale. When the ratio of median home prices to median household incomes is at a punishing all time high, even worse than during the 2008 housing bubble, the goal of homeownership feels like a joke. Saddled with student debt and facing an inflationary world that chews up their paychecks, the slow, steady path of traditional investing just seems pointless. Why scrape together a few $100 a month for an S&P 500 fund to get a 10% average annual return when that won't even cover a down payment for decades, if ever? This feeling of being locked out, that the game is rigged, creates a nothing to lose mentality. And when you feel like you have nothing to lose, you're willing to take way, way bigger risks. You feel this pressure to find a way, anyway, to break out. This is where the allure of crypto becomes so powerful. It's not just an investment. For many, it's a protest, a lottery ticket, a Hail Mary pass against impossible odds. Now, let's layer on the second and arguably most powerful force, the social media echo chamber. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit have become the go-to source of financial information for most Gen Z investors. Studies from firms like The Motley Fool and FINRA consistently show that a huge majority of Gen Z investors, we're talking 60 to 70%, use social media as their main source for investment decisions, ranking it higher than advice from family, friends, or traditional financial websites. In this ecosystem, two seemingly opposite ideas thrive right next to each other. On one side, you have the frugality sphere. This is where you find the no spend challenge and loud budgeting content. Creators document their journeys of cutting expenses to the bone, sharing tips on how to save every last penny. This content is crazy engaging because it feels empowering. It gives you a sense of control in a chaotic world. You can't control inflation, but you can control whether you buy that coffee. It's performative discipline and it earns you social points. You're part of a community. You're praised for your sacrifice and you're winning at saving. But in the very next swipe, the algorithm serves you a completely different reality, the world of crypto. Here, finfluencers and anonymous accounts flash unbelievable gains. You see stories of people turning a few $100s into tens or even hundreds of thousands. The messaging is intoxicating. Get in early, find the next 100x gem, and achieve financial freedom overnight. The hashtag #AchaCryptoInvesting has billions of views, creating a hype storm you can't escape. This creates a powerful psychological 1-2 punch. The no spend content gives you the means. It shows you how to scrape together a small pile of cash. The crypto content gives you the motive. It dangles a tantalizing, high stakes chance to turn that small pile into life changing wealth. This whole system is fueled by one of the most powerful human emotions, fear of missing out, or FOMO. Seeing your peers, or at least people who look like your peers, posting about their crypto wins creates intense pressure to get in the game. The unspoken message becomes, you're sacrificing, you're saving, you're doing the hard part. Now here's your chance to make it all count. Don't get left behind. It reframes a wild gamble as the logical next step for a disciplined saver. It's a siren song that's almost impossible to ignore when you're already feeling cheated by the economy and living in a digital world that makes high risk trading look not just normal, but necessary. This is the perfect storm that primes the pump for the no spend to crypto pipeline. Okay, now we have to talk about a critical flaw in the very first step of this pipeline, the no spend challenge itself. While it's born from good intentions, this trend of extreme frugality often carries psychological baggage that ironically makes people more likely to engage in risky behavior, not less. The very act of radical deprivation can warp your relationship with money in some subtle but incredibly dangerous ways. First off, let's call the no spend challenge what it really is, a crash diet for your finances. It's an extreme, short term fix, not a sustainable lifestyle. Just like someone trying to survive on nothing but kale juice for a month, a person who cuts out all non essential spending is practicing intense deprivation. And what happens at the end of most crash diets? A binge. The psychological pressure of constant restriction often leads to a rebound. You might save a few $100s over a month of militant saving, only to reward yourself with impulsive, expensive purchases once the challenge ends, wiping out all your progress. But the sneakier problem is how this mindset can lead to mental burnout and a warped sense of priorities. Agonizing over a coffee, feeling guilty about buying a book, this focus on cutting every tiny expense creates a huge psychological burden. This deprivation mindset keeps you trapped in a cycle of scarcity. Your financial world shrinks down to what you can cut rather than expanding to what you can build. The energy spent tracking every penny saved on pasta could be better spent developing a new skill, looking for a higher paying job, or starting a side hustle. Things that focus on increasing your income, which has an unlimited ceiling, instead of cutting expenses, which has a very hard floor. And this brings us to the most dangerous psychological trap of all, the one that links saving to gambling, a cognitive bias called moral licensing. Moral licensing is when doing something that feels good or virtuous gives us a subconscious green light to do something bad or indulgent. It's why someone might hit the gym for an hour and then feel completely justified in eating an entire pizza. They've been good, so now they've earned the right to be bad. In our pipeline, this plays out perfectly. You've just spent a month, maybe more, in a state of self inflicted financial martyrdom. You said no to dinners with friends. You didn't buy things you wanted. You cooked every single meal. You've proven to yourself that you are disciplined, responsible, and virtuous. You have accumulated not just a few $100s, but also a surplus of moral high ground. And what do you do with that surplus? You cash it in for a license to take a risk. The internal monologue goes something like this: I worked so hard for this money. I sacrificed so much. I deserve to take a shot at something big. I've been so responsible saving it, so I can afford to be a little irresponsible investing it. The discipline from the no spend challenge doesn't build a foundation of smart financial habits. Instead, it creates a psychological justification for speculation. The act of saving isn't seen as the first step toward a stable future, it's seen as earning the chips to go to the casino. The deprivation doesn't build character, it builds pressure. And when that pressure releases, it's often aimed at the riskiest asset available, promising the quickest and most dramatic reward for all that painful sacrifice. The no spend challenge, therefore, doesn't just provide the cash for the crypto gamble, it provides the psychological permission for it. And that makes it a deeply flawed and dangerous starting point for anyone's financial journey. So, you've survived the no spend challenge. You've scraped together a small war chest, and you've given yourself the moral permission slip to do something bold with it. You wire your hard earned cash to a crypto exchange. And this is where the pipeline terminates, at the front door of a 24/7 global unregulated casino. And we have to stop here and be brutally honest about something. What many people are doing with cryptocurrencies, especially with the money from these extreme saving sprints, is not investing. It is gambling. Investing traditionally is about putting money into an asset that has some form of underlying value or productive capacity. You buy a stock, you own a tiny piece of a company that makes things, earns revenue, and generates profits. You buy a bond, you're lending money to a government or corporation that pays you interest. You buy real estate, you own a physical asset that can bring in rent. The goal is long term growth based on real world value. Gambling or speculation is different. It's about betting on price movements, usually in the short term, with zero regard for underlying value. The hope isn't that the asset will become more productive, but simply that someone else, the greater fool, will pay more for it later. This is the world of most cryptocurrencies. Outside of a few of the largest projects, the vast majority of the thousands of altcoins have no revenue, no profits, and no real use. Their price is driven almost entirely by hype and market sentiment, making it a game of pure speculation. And make no mistake, the parallels to gambling aren't just on the surface, they're hardwired into your brain. Trading highly volatile assets triggers the exact same reward pathways in the brain as a slot machine. The unpredictable price swings, the green and red candles flickering on the screen, the push notifications from your trading app, it's all designed to give you a rush. A winning trade delivers a hit of dopamine, the same chemical responsible for pleasure and reward. This system is brutally effective because it runs on what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. This is the principle that rewards given out at unpredictable times are the most powerful drivers of repeat behavior. It's why people pull the lever on a slot machine for hours. They don't win every time, but that small, occasional, unpredictable win is enough to keep them hooked, even if they're losing overall. A meme coin you bought suddenly jumping 20% gives you that exact same jolt, wiring your brain to chase that feeling again and again, ignoring the 5 other coins that just tanked. This leads directly to one of the most destructive behaviors in both gambling and crypto, chasing losses. Imagine the money from your entire no spend month. Every dollar you painstakingly saved is wiped out in 10 minutes because a coin you bought on a tip just crashed. The rational move would be to stop. But for a mind caught in a gambling loop, the response is often the opposite. Panic sets in, followed by a desperate urge to win it back. This often means making even bigger, riskier bets, or using leverage, which is just a fancy word for borrowed money, to amplify potential gains and more often losses. This is how a small loss snowballs into a catastrophic one. And it's not just the head games. The crypto space itself is a literal minefield of dangers you won't find in regulated stock markets. The extreme volatility is the most obvious. It's not uncommon for cryptocurrencies to lose 80%, 90%, or even 100% of their value. Think of the collapse of projects like Terra, Luna, or the implosion of exchanges like FTX, where billions in user funds vanished overnight. Then there are the outright scams. The unregulated nature of crypto makes it a playground for con artists. Rug pulls are common. Developers create a new coin, hype it on social media to lure in buyers, and then disappear with all the money, leaving everyone with a worthless token. There are also pump and dump schemes where influencers coordinate to buy a cheap coin, use their platform to create a buying frenzy, and then sell their own holdings at the peak, causing the price to crash and leaving their followers holding the bag. Your no-spend savings aren't just at risk from market swings, they're a direct target for sophisticated thieves. When you take the money you so diligently saved and pour it into this environment, you are not investing. You are not a savvy, forward thinking wealth builder. You are taking your hard earned cash, walking into a digital casino full of flashing lights, loaded dice, and expert card sharps, and putting it all on a single spin of the roulette wheel. It's a game where the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against you, and the house almost always wins. And this isn't just theory. The no spend to crypto pipeline has real, devastating consequences. The numbers and the psychology are one thing, but the human cost is where the true dark side becomes clear. While the stories are often hidden by shame, they follow disturbingly similar patterns. Take a hypothetical but all too real case. Let's call her Chloe. Chloe is 21, a university student with a part-time job. She's constantly seeing TikToks about the no spend challenge and feels inspired. For an entire semester, she becomes incredibly disciplined. She stops buying coffee, packs every meal, turns down nights out with friends, and watches her savings account slowly grow by a couple $1,000s. She feels proud, accomplished, and in control. At the same time, her feed is full of crypto content. She sees a video about a new meme coin, the supposed next Dogecoin. The influencer is charismatic, talking about a strong community and 100x potential. Fueled by FOMO and the feeling that she's earned the right to take a shot, she transfers her entire savings into this new coin. For a day, the price goes up. She feels an incredible rush. This is it. This is how she gets ahead. Then overnight, the developers execute a rug pull, the coin's value goes to zero. In an instant, 4 months of sacrifice and social isolation are completely erased. Chloe is left with nothing. Worse than being broke, she's completely disillusioned. Saving money now feels pointless, and investing feels like a scam. She feels foolish, ashamed, and doesn't tell a soul. Or look at Leo. Leo is 25 with a decent entry-level job. He completes a no-spend quarter, saving up about $5,000. He thinks he's more sophisticated than Chloe. He's not buying meme coins. He's day trading major cryptocurrencies with leverage. He thinks he has a strategy. He has some early success, turning his $5,000 into $8,000. The dopamine hits are intense. He feels like a genius. Then the market takes a sharp downturn. Because he's using 10x leverage, a 10% price drop means his entire position is liquidated. His $8,000 is gone. Panicked and desperate to get it back, he takes out a $10,000 personal loan, telling himself he just needs one good trade to make it all back. He's chasing his losses. That trade also goes against him. Now, he's not just at zero, he's $10,000 in debt, hiding it from his family, his stomach in knots every time his phone buzzes. These stories show the financial toll, but the damage runs much deeper. Cryptocurrency addiction is now being recognized as a serious behavioral disorder by mental health professionals. The symptoms are nearly identical to a gambling addiction: a preoccupation with trading, constantly checking prices, lying to loved ones, and continuing to trade despite catastrophic consequences. The mental health impact can be devastating. The extreme highs of a win and the crushing lows of a loss can lead to severe mood swings, anxiety, and depression. The person becomes irritable and restless when they can't trade. They pull away from friends and family because their entire focus is on the charts. In the most tragic cases, the overwhelming debt and hopelessness have led to suicide. One therapist noted that gamblers are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than people with any other addiction, and they are now seeing the same patterns with compulsive crypto traders. The promise of the pipeline was financial freedom. The reality for far too many is financial ruin, crippling debt, and a severe mental health crisis. It's a silent epidemic because the shame keeps people from speaking out. But for every success story you see flaunted on social media, there are thousands of Chloes and Leos suffering in silence, their dreams shattered at the end of a very dark pipeline. If this is resonating with you, or if you've ever felt that pressure to chase high-risk trades, I want you to know you're not alone. The first step is talking about it. So if this is hitting home, hit that subscribe button. We're building a community here that talks about money honestly without the hype and the false promises. Let's figure this out together. So, if the no spend to crypto pipeline is a trap, what's the alternative? How do you actually build wealth in a world that feels rigged against you? The answer isn't as sexy as a 100x meme coin, but it's real, it's sustainable, and it actually works. It's about breaking the pipeline and building a real foundation. Step 1: ditch deprivation and redefine your why. First things first, completely reframe your mindset away from extreme deprivation. Forget the no spend challenge. Instead, adopt a conscious spending plan. The goal is not to stop spending, it's to spend with intention. This means creating a budget that actually reflects your values. Instead of seeing every dollar not spent as a win, start asking what you want your money to do for you. Maybe you love going out with friends once a week. That's not a financial failure. That's an investment in your social health. Maybe that morning coffee from your favorite cafe brings you genuine joy. Budget for it. The point of a budget isn't to punish you, it's to empower you. It's a tool that makes sure you're directing your money toward what truly matters, which includes both your future goals and your present happiness. This approach is sustainable. It doesn't build up the psychological pressure cooker that leads to binge spending or risky moral licensing. It transforms your relationship with money from one of scarcity and guilt to one of control and intention. Step 2: break the scarcity mindset by focusing on income. Extreme frugality obsesses over one side of the equation, expenses. But you can only cut so much. A far more powerful and psychologically healthier approach is to focus on the other side, your income. Instead of spending hours trying to find the cheapest brand of pasta, what if you invested that time in yourself? This could mean learning a high demand skill online, like coding or digital marketing. It could mean taking on a side hustle that you're passionate about, like freelance writing or photography. It could mean focusing on kicking ass at your current job to get a raise or promotion. Increasing your income is the ultimate antidote to financial nihilism. It gives you agency. It proves you are not just a victim of the economy, but an active participant in building your own future. While a no spend challenge might save you a few $100s, developing a new skill could add thousands to your annual income for the rest of your life. That is a path to wealth. Cutting out lattes is not. Step 3, build a financial firewall. Before you even think about putting a single dollar into any investment, you have to build a financial firewall. This is the non negotiable foundation that protects you from life's curveballs and keeps you from ever being desperate enough to make bad decisions. This firewall has two parts. First, an emergency fund. This is 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses, sitting in a boring high yield savings account. This is your buffer. When your car breaks down, you don't have to go into debt or sell investments at a loss. You just use your emergency fund. This one step will reduce your financial stress more than anything else. Second, you must aggressively pay off high interest debt. We're talking credit cards and personal loans. Paying off a credit card with a 22% interest rate gives you a guaranteed, risk free 22% return on your money. No investment in the world can reliably offer you that. Pouring money into a speculative asset while you're carrying high interest debt is like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open. It makes no sense. Step 4, invest, don't gamble. Only after your firewall is built, emergency fund in place, high interest debt gone, should you start investing. And your investing strategy should be as boring as possible. The real secret to getting rich isn't a secret at all. It's compound interest. And the most effective way for most people to use it is by consistently investing in low cost, diversified index funds or ETFs, especially inside tax advantaged accounts like a 401k or a Roth IRA. This is the slow and steady path that financial nihilism hates, but it's the only one with a proven track record. By owning a small piece of thousands of the world's most successful companies, you are betting on the growth of the global economy. It's not a get rich quick scheme, it's a get rich for sure plan if you give it enough time. So, where does crypto fit in? For a financially secure person, it can have a small, well defined place. This is the Vegas money rule. After all your foundational bases are covered, emergency fund, no high interest debt, consistent retirement contributions, you can consider allocating a tiny portion of your portfolio, say 1% to 5% at the absolute max, to speculative assets like crypto. But you have to treat this money for what it is, a gamble. It is money you must be 100% prepared to lose. It's an entertainment expense, no different than a concert ticket. If it goes to zero, it should have no real impact on your life or your financial goals. If it goes up, great, you got lucky. This framework lets you play around with potential upside without risking your entire financial future on a coin flip. The no spend to crypto pipeline is seductive because it offers a simple two-step solution to a complex and frustrating problem. Step 1, be super disciplined and save money. Step 2, bet that money on a long shot for a chance at life-changing wealth. It feels proactive, it feels empowering, and social media tells you every single day that it's what smart, ambitious people are doing. But it's a trap. It's built on a foundation of psychological deprivation that actually encourages reckless behavior. It channels that recklessness into an unregulated, addictive, and predatory digital casino where the odds are fundamentally stacked against you. It preys on the very real economic anxieties of a generation and sells a lottery ticket as a financial plan. The result isn't freedom, but a trail of financial ruin, mental health crises, and broken dreams. The real path forward, the one that leads to genuine financial independence, requires a different kind of discipline. It's the discipline to ignore the hype. It's the discipline to build a solid foundation, brick by boring brick, through conscious spending, growing your income, and consistently investing in productive assets. It's the discipline to let the quiet, unstoppable power of compound interest do the work for you over time. The pressure to get rich quick has never been more intense, fueled by a digital world that turns everything into a spectacle. But real financial power isn't about hitting the jackpot. It's about building a life where you control your money, not the other way around. It's about having the freedom to make choices that align with your values, secure in the knowledge that your future is protected. So I'll ask you, What's one small step you can take today to build a real foundation instead of just buying another ticket for the crypto casino? Is it setting up a recurring transfer to a savings account, spending 1 hour learning a new skill, finally making a plan to tackle your credit card debt? Let me know in the comments below. Let's start a real conversation.